Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I was the niece of a fallen soldier, a war hero. I fell in love with Logan Hayes, a distant relative who had come from the city. To win him over, I humbled myself, played the submissive girl, and even skipped meals just to save rations to give to him. But he completely looked down on me. He didn't pay me the slightest attention until the village chief announced that as the orphan niece of a martyr, I could help my husband qualify for a return to city quota. Only then did Logan agree to marry me. Once he got the quota, he began treating me with open contempt and started parading around with his beloved confidant, Bella Young. He sneered at me. "Claire, you're just a peasant girl. You think you're good enough to follow me back to the city? You're a disgrace. I didn't marry you. I married your quota." To divorce me, Logan went as far as framing me for having an affair with a single man in the village. I couldn't bear the finger-pointing and cruel gossip, so I drank pesticide. The pain overwhelmed me, and I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day before our engagement. This time, when the village chief asked who I wanted to marry so he could arrange it for me, I chose Ethan Brooks, the city youth with the worst political background, simply because in my past life, after I drank the pesticide and everyone avoided me like a plague, he was the one who carried me to the hospital on his back. "Claire, who said you could go ask the chief to arrange a marriage?" Logan's angry voice came from behind me just as I stepped out of the chief's house. "Did I ever say I'd marry you? Do you even understand what dignity is? Even a country girl should know how to act with some self-respect." I stood up straight and calmly said, "I never said I wanted to marry you." Logan let out a cold laugh and said with disdain, "When Bella went in just now, I heard everything through the window." The chief asked, "Who you liked and now you're still lying? You think I could ever like a woman who's full of lies?" I glanced at Bella who stood beside him and said dryly, "Did you not hear the rest of what I said?" Bella stayed silent, but Logan jumped in instead, sneering, "You really think someone as quiet and refined as Bella would stay and keep listening to that nonsense?" Bella tugged at his sleeve and softly said, "Logan, don't blame Claire. You're so outstanding. Of course, she'd want to marry you." Logan didn't even bother looking at me. He didn't deserve to. Even though I no longer loved him, those 3 words still stung. In my past life, he kept tearing me down, always telling me I was just a village girl, that I didn't deserve him. So when he finally agreed to marry me, I was overjoyed. I humbly catered to his every demand. At the time, I felt that marrying Logan was the greatest grace he could ever bestow on me. I didn't care about anything else. I was so foolish in that past life. This time, I would never degrade myself for him again. I shook my head and turned to leave. I didn't want to waste another word on either of them. But Logan blocked my way. Impatiently, he said, "The wheat in Bella's assigned field hasn't been harvested yet. Go help her cut it." Bella quickly said, "It's okay. I can do it myself." Logan looked at her with tenderness. "No way. Your hands are meant for reading and writing, not for holding a sickle. Let Claire do it." I looked at my hands, already covered with calluses, and smiled faintly. "Sure." Logan smiled smugly. He had already counted on me agreeing. That was how it always was in the last life. He would shamelessly flirt with Bella, right in front of me. And just when I was about to give up, he'd offer some vague excuse, claiming they were just friends. Then he'd ask me for help with farm work. Back then, I didn't even realize I had become Logan's free labor. Instead, I felt happy, thinking Logan needed me, that I was useful, that I was capable. I believed that if I just worked harder, I could move his heart. So, I threw myself into labor for him, even when a large part of that work was actually Bella's. I believed that if I behaved well enough, listened well enough, Logan would eventually like me. It wasn't until I drank pesticide that I finally understood. The more obedient I was, the more he looked down on me. "Claire, since you already agreed, hurry up and go. Don't waste time. I hate women who dally." Logan's voice interrupted my thoughts. I nodded. "I'll harvest the wheat. No problem. But once it's done, whose work points will it count toward? Let's make that clear in advance." Logan frowned. "I just asked you for a favor, and you're already eyeing Bella's work points. Claire, you're really petty. I'm telling you, Logan said. If you want me to have even a shred of respect for you, then stop acting like some stingy, small-minded country girl. My expression turned cold. Annoyed, I shot back. What's wrong with being from the countryside? It's our farmland that feeds you city folks. What makes you think you're so superior? You're not better than anyone else. Then I looked him straight in the eye and said firmly, and let me be clear, I never wanted to marry you, and I never will. Fuming, I turned and walked off. Logan froze for a second, then sneered behind me. Wow, Claire, you've really grown some nerve. Playing hard to get now. Do you even have what it takes? It's pathetic, like a cheap imitation trying to copy a noble act. He raised his voice. You better finish harvesting the wheat in Bella's plot before nightfall. If you don't expect me to speak to you again. Bella gently said, Logan, don't be mad. I heard the neighboring village is screening a movie tonight. Let's go watch it together. The two of them left, and before they were out of sight, Logan turned around to scold me one more time. It was clear they had no intention of harvesting the wheat themselves. And as for me, I certainly had no plans to do it for them. But when I got to my front door, I noticed a huge swarm of ants fighting all across the ground. It was a sign there was going to be a big storm tonight. If we didn't harvest the wheat quickly, it would all rot out there in the fields. As someone born and raised in the countryside, I couldn't bear to see that kind of waste. After a moment of thought, I turned around and headed to the village chief's house. After explaining the situation, the chief sighed and said, Bella always drags her feet when it comes to work. I was already thinking of having someone else finish the harvest. Go ahead and cut the wheat. I'll make sure the work points are counted under your name. You won't lose out. I thanked him and turned to leave. But the chief called after me again, looking a little conflicted. Didn't you used to like Logan? Why did you choose Ian Foster instead? He scratched his head and continued. Ian's a hard worker and a decent guy. Sure, but his background's terrible. I looked into it. His parents used to be university professors, but now they've been sent down to labor reform in the cattle barn. Marrying him might hurt your future. If you have kids, they might even blame you for it someday. I smiled. I don't care about a bright future. I care that he's a good person. I like that he reads a lot and tells stories. The village chief nodded. All right then. A few days ago, I sent him to the provincial capital to buy seeds. When he gets back, I'll ask what he thinks. He shook his head with a sigh. That boy's really lucked out. When I reached the wheat field, I saw that all the other plots had already been harvested. Only Bella's section remained. The stalk stood tall and neat, sticking out like a sore thumb. I picked up the sickle and began cutting the wheat bundle by bundle. Somehow my thoughts drifted to Ian Foster. In my past life, when I drank the pesticide and was on the brink of death, it was Ian who carried me on his back to the hospital. I was in so much pain I couldn't stop crying. To distract me, he kept telling stories the entire way. I still remember the last one about the coward and the weaver girl. When the story ended, so did my life. The last thing I heard was Ian choking back tears saying, Claire, you're the weaver girl. You came down to earth to suffer through trials. Now it's time for you to return to the stars, but I'm no coward. I can't even meet you once a year. In that bittersweet memory, I finished harvesting the wheat. I sighed and stood up, stretching my aching back. Just then, I heard a mocking voice behind me. Well, isn't this Claire again? Back to doing Bella's work, I see. If you want to please Logan, you better start with Bella first. That was the kind of comment I overheard from the other educated youths in the village. The ones who came from the same city as Logan. He's clever, they snickered. But clever in a dumb way. Logan and Bella were high school sweethearts. They were together even before they came to the countryside. All Claire's fawning is just her handing herself a green hat. Logan probably doesn't even care. I wouldn't be surprised if Logan and Bella had a kid, and Claire still went running over to help babysit. One of them said, back then, I had tried to win Logan over by treating his friends politely, even flatteringly. But the longer that went on, the more they took advantage of it. Over time, they stopped seeing me as a person at all. Face dark, sickle in hand, I walked over and said coldly, What did you just say? The moment they saw my expression, some of them panicked, though they still tried to play tough. What? You heard wrong? And even if you didn't, why is it okay for you to do things, but we can't talk about them? If you don't know how to act with dignity, don't blame others for saying it. I pointed the sickle at their ringleader and said in a cold, steady voice, "In our village, people who gossip like that get a beating." He turned pale, clearly scared. Just then, someone shouted excitedly like they'd seen their savior. "Logan's coming." I turned to see Logan and Bella walking down the path, hand in hand. But right before they reached me, they let go like it was some unspoken habit between them. Logan glanced at the field, satisfied with the harvested wheat, and nodded. "Not bad. Since you've shown a decent attitude and admitted your faults, I'll allow you to attend Bella's birthday party tomorrow." The other educated youth snickered. In the past, Logan would invite me to every birthday celebration. Not because I was welcomed, but because I was foolish enough to bring sacks of rice, flour, oil, vegetables, eggs, everything. I'd cook, serve tea, and clean up after their parties, thinking Logan wanted me to be part of his circle. Now I knew the truth. I was never anything more than their unpaid help, their doormat. I stared at him coldly. "No thanks. I'm not interested in any of your birthdays." Logan's smile vanished. His face hardened instantly. Being embarrassed in front of his friends enraged him. He stormed toward me, looking down from above, his voice full of contempt. "I give you a little compliment, and now you think you're hot stuff. Claire Bennett, I'm doing you a favor by letting you show up. Who do you think you are? If you hadn't clung to me like a leech, do you think I'd have even looked at you?" I glared at him and shouted, "Let me make it clear one more time, Logan. I don't like you. I have nothing to do with you anymore. From now on we go our separate ways." The other educated youth started jeering, egging Logan on. Feeling humiliated, he lashed out. He shoved me hard. I fell flat into the weak field. "Remember what you said today, Claire. Don't come crawling back to me like some cheap little thing. A parentless orphan like you dreaming of marrying me. You must be out of your damn mind. You're a mess. No upbringing, no class." My entire body trembled with fury. I sprang up and slapped him across the face with all my strength. "What gives you the right to insult my parents? They died rescuing people from the floods. They were martyrs. They are 1,000 times more honorable than you." Logan stood stunned for a moment, then exploded with rage. He kicked me hard in the stomach. I curled up on the ground, clutching my abdomen in pain. Logan tore the watch from his wrist and flung it at me. "This piece of junk, I never wanted it anyway. Take it back." It was my father's old watch, his only keepsake. I had given it to Logan in my desperation to please him. I never imagined he'd treat it like garbage and smash it on the ground. I scrambled through the dirt to pick it up, but the watch had landed on the sickle's blade. It was broken beyond repair. Cradling the shattered watch in my hands, tears streaking down my face, I looked up and saw Logan already turning to leave with Bella. The one thing I had once treasured, he had never cared about, not even for a moment. Right then, the village loudspeaker crackled to life. It was the chief's voice, firm and steady. "Claire Bennett. Claire Bennett, come to the village chief's house immediately. It's something good." I gently placed the broken watch into my coat pocket, fastened the button, and headed toward the village chief's house. But before I could get far, Logan Hayes caught up to me and blocked my path. His face was dark as he said, "Claire, what do you mean by this? What good thing are you talking about?" I snapped. "How would I know? Move." Logan scoffed. "You think I don't know? Obviously, you went to the chief to ask him to arrange a marriage for the two of us. I'm warning you. Don't embarrass yourself like that. If you do, I'll reject you in front of everyone and make sure you can't even lift your head in this village again." I only gave him one word: get lost. He hadn't expected me, the girl who always obeyed and followed him, to actually tell him to get lost. His fists clenched. "What did you say?" I raised the sickle in my hand and pointed at him. "Logan, if you dare lay a finger on me again, I won't go easy on you." He hadn't expected me to be so cold. He froze on the spot. I didn't even look back at him as I walked straight to the village chief's house. The moment I walked in, I saw Ian Foster sitting there, looking nervous and a little awkward. He glanced up at me, then quickly looked away. He didn't say anything, but I could see the hint of a smile in his eyes, the way the corners of his mouth curved up. The chief chuckled, smoke curling from his pipe. This kid's bold. Turns out he's had his eyes on you for a while. As soon as I brought it up, he was so happy he even sang me a piece of opera. He turned to Ian. Come on, Ian. Sing another one for Claire. Let her hear it. You remember how Auntie Ching scolded a king in that scene? Ian gave a shy, bitter smile. Chief, could you give me a break? As he spoke, our eyes met, and in that glance, there was a touch of sweetness. The chief laughed heartily. If both of you agree, then that's that. We don't fuss over traditions in the countryside. Today I'll be your witness. Consider yourselves engaged. After the autumn harvest, I'll pick a good day and we'll throw you a proper wedding. Then he looked at Ian and said sternly, Ian, if you ever wrong Claire, I'll skin you alive. Ian nodded repeatedly. The chief turned to me. Claire, Ian's political background might be bad, but his character is solid. You're not allowed to look down on him. If you ever use his background against him or poke at that scar, I won't let it slide. I nodded sincerely. Just then the town's mailman rushed in panting. Chief, urgent document from the county. I saw the envelope was marked top secret. It was a sealed dispatch for Ian. As we were about to leave, the chief called after us. You're only engaged, not married. Keep it proper, you hear? Ian had just reached for my hand but quickly pulled back, flustered. My face flushed red, and I muttered under my breath. The older the chief gets, the thicker his skin. Night had fallen. Ian had to deliver the seeds he just purchased to the warehouse. We parted ways at the chief's doorstep, both of us glancing back 3 times before walking away, reluctant to separate. Not long after dinner, the village loudspeaker came on again. All villagers must gather at the threshing yard immediately. At least one person per household. Important announcement to follow. Claire Bennett must attend. It concerns you. I quickly washed my face and hurried to the gathering. But halfway there, a large hand suddenly grabbed my arm tightly. I cried out in pain, then heard Logan's voice. Claire Bennett, I warned you. You really don't know shame, do you? I tried to wrench my arm free. Logan, what the hell is your problem? Furious, he shouted. So what if your parents were war heroes? That gives you the right to pressure the village chief into making me marry you? I'm telling you, I'm not playing along. Not even if the King of Heaven himself orders it. He stepped closer, his voice sharp. Let me make it crystal clear. Bella and I are together. You need to give up already. I shot back loudly. Logan, you really think too highly of yourself? Who told you this meeting is about matchmaking? Who do you think you are that the chief would gather the entire village just to talk about you? He hadn't expected me to speak to him so sarcastically. Furious, he shoved me hard. Still acting stubborn. Just wait. I'll humiliate you in front of everyone real soon. Bella was right. Girls like me who threw themselves at men didn't know the meaning of dignity. He said he had to humiliate me, make it clear that I never stood a chance. I was too soft on you before, Logan said. Claire, you brought this on yourself. When the meeting starts, don't you dare cry. With anger blazing, Logan stormed off toward the meeting hall. I shook my head and muttered, psycho. The meeting was about to begin, but I didn't see Ian Foster. Maybe he was still at the warehouse and hadn't made it back yet. The village chief stood on a large rock, his eyes red-rimmed as he spoke. Everyone in our village knows. 3 years ago during the flood, Claire Bennett's parents sacrificed their lives to save us. To honor them, the government officially recognized them as martyrs, gave them an award certificate, and a commemorative watch. Over the years, our village has always remembered what the Bennett family did for us. We've never treated Claire unfairly, but I still feel it's not enough. It doesn't make up for what she's been through. The chief paused, his voice choked with emotion. Now there's a new policy. Claire and her husband, whoever she marries, can receive a quota to move to the city. That means if she marries a local villager, the 2 of them can go to the city as workers and earn wages with state-provided rations. If she marries an educated youth, they can return to the city, and the government will assign them jobs. He took a deep breath. The country hasn't forgotten Claire. So I ask, who now dares say she has no one to back her up? Who dares say she's hard to marry? Whoever gets to marry Claire is incredibly lucky. Their whole family's fate would change overnight. While the chief continued, full of emotion, the crowd in the hall erupted. Everyone was talking at once. Most eyes turned to me. The villagers, those born and raised here, had lived through the flood. Even now, the mention of my parents brought tears to their eyes. I could feel their genuine happiness for me. As for the educated youths, they'd arrived after the disaster. They didn't know my parents. They just looked at me with envy and at Logan with jealousy. They all assumed he would be the one to get the quota and return to the city. Logan clearly thought so too. He swaggered over to me with a cold smirk. No wonder you've been acting so aggressive today, like a shrew. So you already knew about the policy, huh? Thought you could turn the tables on me with this news. Claire, you're more calculating than I gave you credit for. But I'll tell you right now, it won't work. I nodded. You're right. It won't work because I don't love you. I'm not marrying you, which means you're not getting the quota. Logan's expression froze. He was speechless. After a moment, he spat out bitterly. No point talking if we can't even agree on the basics. He turned to leave, but Bella, standing a short distance away, shot him a desperate look. Logan sighed, then turned back toward me. Claire, don't say I didn't give you a chance. If you apologize for how you acted today, I might consider forgiving you. It's not impossible for us to still be together. I couldn't believe how ridiculous he sounded. How had I ever been infatuated with him in my past life? With a mocking smile, I asked, "Oh, so you and Bella broke up?" Logan paused for a moment. We were never really together. I only walked with her today, because I was angry at you. I wanted to get back at you for how you spoke to me. I kept mocking him. Wow, I had no idea you were so devoted to me. Is this the same Logan who used to bark orders at me and yell over every little thing? His expression shifted slightly, the corners of his mouth curling into a smile. I get it now. You're upset because you think I embarrassed you before, and now you want to take your pride back. Fine. If that's what you want, I'll let you have it. Since I like you, giving you a little face is no big deal. But remember this, Claire. I'm only doing it because I like you. You'd better know when to stop while you're ahead. Know when to stop, I said. Logan clearly didn't understand me. He marched up to the stone the village chief had just stood on, acting like he was about to give a grand speech. The crowd fell silent, curiosity in their eyes as they looked up at him. With a smile plastered on his face, Logan began. Everyone knows Claire's been pursuing me for a while now. Honestly, I already agreed to be with her, but I just hadn't made it official. So today, with everyone here as witnesses, I want to announce our relationship. Then he looked at me with a performative gentleness, using the kind of sweet, insincere language only city boys used. Claire, I like you. Marry me. The educated youths in the crowd cheered and clapped, and even some villagers joined in. Everyone knew how long I had chased after Logan. To them, marrying him probably seemed like the natural next step, but I shook my head. I don't like you. I can't say yes. The entire square went dead quiet. All eyes turned to me in shock. Logan stood frozen on the stone, caught off guard and humiliated. Gritting his teeth, he tried to hold back his anger. Claire, don't test my patience. I replied coldly. I truly don't like you, and I know you've never liked me either. This confession of yours today isn't about feelings. It's about that quota. You're hoping I'll give it up willingly to Bella. I hit the nail on the head. Logan's face twisted in fury. Embarrassed in front of everyone, he started to lose control. He pointed at me and yelled without filter. Claire, even with a quota, you're still just a village girl. You should be thanking the heavens someone like me even looked your way. I'm only giving you this one last chance. Are you marrying me or not? Don't play dumb. You trailed after me for so long. Wasn't this what you were waiting for? So stop pretending. Just then, a tall figure stepped forward. Ian Foster had returned. Even with Logan standing on the rock, he was still shorter than Ian. Ian reached out with his strong, calloused hand and grabbed Logan's wrist. Logan, how could you bully my fiancé while I was gone? Ian said, his voice low and cold. Everyone was stunned by Ian's sudden appearance. Logan yanked his arm back and clutched it in pain, scoffing as he said, "Ian Foster, you're Claire's fiancé. What are you still dreaming? Look at your background. You think you're worthy of a girl like her." The educated youth started jeering too. "Yeah, Ian. Even a country girl wouldn't want someone like you. What? You think saving the damsel will make her fall for you? You're delusional." They had always looked down on Ian for his background, isolating him whenever they could. Now they were going all in, but Ian had always been on good terms with the villagers, and many of them immediately stepped up to defend him. I walked straight over to Ian and in front of everyone, firmly took his hand. The crowd went quiet. Looking around at them, I said clearly, "I like Ian Foster. We're engaged. He's my fiancé." The silence turned into murmurs. Some were clearly envious of Ian's luck. Logan looked like he'd just been slapped across the face. Anger, humiliation, and disbelief twisted together on his face. Then suddenly, as if he'd had an idea, he gave a cold laugh and said, "Claire, you really know how to put on a show. You dragged Ian here just to piss me off, didn't you? I'm telling you, I don't respond to manipulation. This little act just makes me look down on you more. Apologize now, and maybe I'll still forgive you." Ian and I both stared at him like he was insane. I said, "Ian and I really are engaged. The village chief knows." "Logan, stop deluding yourself." He stared at me in disbelief. "Deluding myself? Did you really just say I'm delusional? You, a lowly village girl, telling me I'm delusional?" His aggressiveness made Ian frown. Then Ian stepped forward, towering over Logan. His heightened strength, sharpened by years of farm work, made the difference impossible to ignore. Ian was solid and broad-shouldered. Standing above Logan, he exuded an overwhelming pressure. Logan clearly looked intimidated. He tried to put on a brave face, bluffing. "What do you think you're doing? Don't forget where you come from." Ian stared at him coldly. "Maybe I don't have the right background, but these fists don't lie. Logan, if you keep bullying my fiancé, don't blame me for what happens next." Then he turned slightly and bumped Logan with his shoulder. It didn't even look like he used much strength, but Logan stumbled back a few steps and nearly fell. He glared at Ian, furious, but in the end he didn't dare strike back. Suddenly, Logan ran over to the village chief and shouted like a sore loser. "Did Ian know about the new policy in advance? He's manipulating the system. He tricked Claire. Aren't you going to do something about this?" The chief had been watching silently this whole time, puffing on his pipe. Now he slowly lifted his head and replied in a calm, deliberate tone. "They got engaged before the new policy was even announced. I was their witness. Their feelings are genuine. There was no scheming involved. I saw it all with my own eyes." It was like a lightning bolt hit Logan. He collapsed onto the ground in stunned silence. The chief tapped his smoking pipe in Logan's direction and added, "But you, Logan, you've been chasing two rabbits at once, thinking no one's noticed. You really think you're the only smart one here and everyone else is an idiot? Let me tell you the truth. It's a good thing Claire didn't choose you. Otherwise, I'd be so angry I couldn't sleep at night." With that, the chief clasped his hands behind his back and walked off. The villagers started whispering and laughing behind their hands. Their ridicule stung more than any slap. As night fell, the crowd gradually dispersed. The once bustling square was now empty, except for Logan, who sat alone, yanking at his hair. Not even Bella, the woman he treated like a treasure, was there to stay with him. The chief had already picked a wedding date for Ian and me. As soon as the autumn harvest was over, our preparations would begin. Ian and I had started daydreaming about our future together. But I never expected what happened. One morning Mrs. Tucker, the village loudmouth, stormed to my doorstep, yelling curses and banging on the door. I had no idea what was going on, but when I opened it, there was already a crowd of villagers watching the commotion. In her hand, Mrs. Tucker was waving a woman's undergarment. She pointed at me and screamed, "Claire Bennett, you may be young, but you sure are shameless, using this kind of thing to seduce my son." My heart sank. In my last life, Logan had falsely accused me of having an affair with Silas Tucker. I thought choosing Ian this time would help me avoid that nightmare. I never imagined they'd still manage to pin this on me. I scanned the crowd and sure enough saw Bella and Logan huddled in a corner, whispering. They weren't here to watch. They were clearly orchestrating the whole thing. Mrs. Tucker threw the undergarment at me, hands on her hips. Speak up, Claire. What are we going to do about this? I want an explanation today, I asked. What exactly do you want? She replied. Since you and my son have been sneaking around, the only way to clean up your reputations is to get married. I couldn't help but laugh coldly. Silas was mentally challenged. His intelligence was like that of a child. He was in his 30s and still unmarried. And now this woman wanted me to marry her son. Unbelievable. Then she added, once you two get your quota and move to the city, I won't ask for much. Just give me half your wages. I didn't even bother hiding my disdain. I rolled my eyes and snapped, keep dreaming. Mrs. Tucker slapped her thigh and threw herself on the ground, wailing. There's no justice. Claire Bennett seduced my son and ruined our family's name. I have no reason to live. I'll hang myself right in front of her door. More and more people gathered. If she kept this up, it would be impossible to explain myself. I shouted. You say I seduced your son? Where's the proof? I pointed at the underwear on the ground. Don't try to frame me with that. Who knows where you even got it from? If you want the quota, don't resort to such disgusting tactics. Mrs. Tucker pulled Silas out from the crowd. My son's simple-minded, but he never lies. Silas, tell them what happened. Silas drooled and smiled goofily. Last night, I was out catching grasshoppers outside the village. Sister Claire pulled me behind a big tree and gave me a piece of clothing. She said she was going to marry me. As soon as those words left Silas's mouth, the entire crowd exploded. Everyone in the village knew one thing about Silas. Although his intelligence was childlike, he didn't lie. That made the crowd start to buzz louder. I can't believe Claire's that kind of person. She's disgracing her parents, isn't she? She's always been obsessed with men. You could tell from the way she followed Logan around like a puppy. She's got that restless energy. It's not surprising. Wasn't she already engaged to Ian? Being engaged doesn't mean anything. Maybe Ian's a prude and wouldn't mess around with her early. Silas is easy. He's too slow to resist anything. She could do whatever she wanted with him. She must have done it. Look, she even took off her underwear. The more people talked, the filthier their comments became, and the more they said, the more delighted Mrs. Tucker looked. She sat on the ground, slapping her thighs and howling. Claire Bennett, either you marry my son or I'll report you for indecent behavior and get you locked up. In my past life, it was threats like that from Mrs. Tucker, plus all the stares and ridicule that finally broke me. I drank pesticide and gave up. But in this life, what should I do? Just then, Logan stepped out from the crowd. He cleared his throat and said to Mrs. Tucker, mind if I say something fair? He continued in a calm, persuasive tone. Claire just made a mistake. It was a lapse in judgment, acting so close with someone she wasn't engaged to. Let's not blow this out of proportion. Forcing her to marry your son, that's going too far. After all, she's the daughter of martyrs. You can't ruin her life like this. Besides, you won't get it past the village chief. Mrs. Tucker hesitated. Still, I can't just let Claire off the hook. Wait. What do you mean marrying my son would ruin her life? Are you insulting us? Logan avoided the question entirely and continued. How about this? Give Mrs. Tucker all of Claire's work points this year. Let that be the compensation. Mrs. Tucker paused, weighing her options. She knew the chief would never allow her to force me into marriage. Eventually, she nodded in agreement. Logan turned to me with what he thought was a loving expression. Claire, your reputation's already been ruined. Ian Foster's definitely going to back out now. But it's okay. We used to like each other. I'm not ashamed of you. Marry me. I let out a cold laugh. I'd rather drink pesticide. Logan's smile vanished. His face hardened. Don't be ungrateful. I'm giving you a way out here. Just then, a voice rang out from nearby. Logan, the way you're barking orders, I thought you were already village chief. I turned my head and my heart lifted. It was Ian, and the village chief was with him. I didn't know why, but the moment I saw Ian, I felt completely grounded. When he reached me, He gently placed a reassuring hand on my back. It was such a small gesture, but it made my nose sting. I knew he believed me. He was silently telling me, "I've got you." Ian turned to Logan. "You've already jumped to conclusions before the truth came out. Who exactly are you to do that? Why are you inserting yourself into our business? Your little tricks are pathetic and shameful. I don't respect men like that." Then he gave Logan a hard shove. This time he didn't hold back. Logan fell hard, flat on his back in the middle of the crowd. Ian then walked over to Silas, smiling cheerfully. "So Claire gave you some clothes last night, huh?" Silas nodded vigorously. "Uh-huh. Sister Claire said she was going to be my wife." Ian kept going. "What was she wearing at the time?" Silas blinked. "It was too dark. I couldn't see." Ian raised a brow. "Then how did you know it was Claire?" "She told me," Silas answered. "She said she was my sister Claire, but her voice sounded different than usual." That one sentence sent the crowd into an uproar. No one here was stupid. They immediately sensed something fishy. But Ian remained calm and composed. He continued to ask Silas, other than the voice, what else was different about the woman who called herself Sister Claire last night? Silas thought for a moment and replied, "She smelled nice. Really nice. So nice it made me want to sneeze." Ian looked over at the village chief. The chief nodded and said, "Bring over all the women in the village who are around Claire's age. Let Silas sniff them one by one." Just then, my gaze swept the crowd, and I spotted Bella trying to sneak away. I immediately shouted, "Bella, where do you think you're going?" Startled, Bella bolted, but two of the village aunties quickly stepped in and dragged her back. When she stood in front of Silas, his eyes lit up. "That's the smell, but wait, you're not Sister Claire." One of the aunties chimed in. "That's right. That perfume she's wearing, we don't have that in the village. It came from her city relatives. She showed it off for days when it arrived." Bella's face turned ghostly pale. She looked desperately at Logan. "Logan, help me," I said coldly. "Bella, looks like you're quite the little schemer. If you're so bold, why not marry Silas yourself?" Mrs. Tucker perked up immediately. Bella wouldn't be a bad match. Bella was stunned. She clung to Logan's arm. "Logan, say something. I didn't do anything. You know that." Logan cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. He forced out, "Bella is just an accomplice. Maybe since there was a match in progress, she can give Mrs. Tucker a year's worth of her work points as compensation." Before Mrs. Tucker could respond, Bella exploded. "I'm not an accomplice. I didn't do anything. Logan, are you even a man? You know the truth, and you're still trying to pin this on me." She spun around in a frenzy and shouted to everyone. "It was Logan. He was the one who told me to set Claire up. He said Claire would never agree to marry a fool. And when the situation exploded, he'd swoop in like a hero and steal her quota." Before anyone could react, Mrs. Tucker rushed forward and smacked Bella across the face so hard she fell to the ground. "You're the fool. My son may be slow, but at least he doesn't lie." The village chief's face darkened. He turned to Logan. "Well, what do you have to say?" Logan, forcing composure, muttered, "I never said anything like that. Bella's just making it up." The chief sneered. "You can deny it, but everyone here knows the truth." There was no concrete proof, so the chief couldn't punish Logan outright. But after this fiasco, Logan's reputation was utterly destroyed. The villagers avoided him. Even the other educated youths turned their backs on him. He became completely isolated. From then on, the dirtiest and hardest jobs always fell to him. He was the last one considered when supplies were distributed. And when it came time to recommend people for the military or college, he didn't even make the list. He wandered the village like a hollow shell, existing but no longer living. As for Bella, Mrs. Tucker wouldn't let her off the hook. She insisted Bella had seduced her son and demanded she marry Silas. Otherwise, she'd report her for public indecency and push for jail time. Bella was so terrified she nearly collapsed. Weighing her options, she ultimately gave in and actually married Silas. She tried to trap someone else but ended up digging her own grave. As for Ian and me, we used our quota and returned to the city. Because we worked hard, studied diligently, and Ian's parents had their teaching positions reinstated, clearing their political record. We were both recommended by the factory to attend university. We both chose to major in hydraulic engineering. We had a shared dream to tame the floods and honor my parents' sacrifice. Years later, we became well-known experts in the field. Our very first assignment brought us back to our hometown to manage flood control. On the day we returned, representatives from the county, town, and village all came out to welcome us. They welcomed us with joy. Some even moved to tears, full of hope that we could finally solve the flooding problem and bring them a stable life. The county had arranged accommodations for us, but Ian and I insisted on returning to the village where everything began. After a few years away, the village chief was still around, though his hair had turned gray at the temples. What surprised me most was seeing Logan and Bella back together. Turns out after Bella married Silas, she gave birth to a son the following year. But Bella was lazy, picky with food, and constantly threatened divorce. Mrs. Tucker, fed up with her useless daughter-in-law, who ate without working, decided she was just a waste of resources. Since Silas already had a son and wouldn't be lacking for someone to care for him in the future, she finally agreed to the divorce. After that, Bella's reputation was ruined. No one wanted her. Logan, by then in his 30s, carried his own bad reputation and couldn't find a wife either. Two people with nowhere else to go ended up settling for each other. But whatever affection they once had was long gone. They fought hysterically in the middle of the night, often waking up the whole village. Bella's eyes were often black and swollen, and Logan's face frequently bore long, deep scratch marks. Ian and I could only laugh it off. We'd seen a bigger world by now. Logan and Bella were nothing more than irrelevant side characters in our lives. But whenever Logan spotted us from a distance, especially when he saw Ian, he couldn't hide the despair in his eyes. Head hung low, he trudged home, mumbling to himself like he'd gone mad. Someone once leaned in close and heard him muttering, "Claire was supposed to be mine. If I had married her, I'd be in college too. I'd be an expert now." That very night, Logan and Bella had another wild screaming fight. After Ian and I returned to the village, we immediately began studying the local water conditions. Before long, we proposed a flood control plan, to build a dam to block the river, and create an integrated water management system for electricity, irrigation, and flood prevention. The county mobilized a large workforce to support the project. After 3 months of intense labor, we finally completed the most difficult part, closing the river breach. The night it was finished, we all celebrated and collapsed into a well-earned sleep. But in the middle of the night, I was jolted awake by terrified shouting outside. "The dam broke! The dam broke!" Everyone scrambled to their feet in panic. Fortunately, it was winter and the river was in its dry season, so the damage was minimal. If it had happened in summer, entire villages could have been swept away. Then Logan came running to the village chief full of excitement. "I want to report something." It was Bella. "She dug open the dam last night. She caused the breach." "Chief, I deserve credit for reporting this. Doesn't that mean I should get the next return to city quota?" The chief gave him a look full of contempt. He ordered someone to bring Bella in. When she arrived at the chief's house, Bella at first denied everything. But once she learned that it was Logan who had turned her in, she snapped. Hair disheveled, eyes wild. She pointed at Logan and screamed, "You told me to do it. You made me sabotage the damn thing to get back at Claire and Ian. Logan, you're not even human. You lied to me again. You used me again. You wanted the city quota so badly. I'll make sure you never get it." Suddenly, she pulled a pair of scissors from her coat and stabbed them directly into Logan's chest. No one saw it coming. There was no time to stop her. Blood spurted from Logan's chest as he collapsed to the ground, limbs convulsing uncontrollably. Struggling, he turned his head to look at me. "Claire," he gasped. "If I'd said yes back then, would you have married me?" I looked him in the eyes and replied evenly, "I'll say it again. I'd rather drink pesticide." Logan gave a bitter smile then whispered, "I hate myself so much." He died with his eyes wide open, unable to rest in peace. Bella was immediately restrained on the spot. When the police arrived and took her away, she had already lost her mind. They tied her up tightly and shoved her into the vehicle. Behind the iron bars, she looked at me with a twisted grin and muttered, Claire Bennett, you'll never be better than me. You never got Logan, but I did. I married him. You're just a poor village girl. You've probably never even ridden in a car. Well, look at me now. I'm in a car, aren't I?" She giggled, then burst into manic laughter. After driving out the troublemakers, peace returned to the village. The rest of the project moved forward smoothly. 3 years later, the Water Conservancy project was successfully completed. Just as we'd envisioned, it provided electricity, irrigation, and flood control all in one. Villagers from miles around no longer had to fear floods ruining their homes and livelihoods. The village chief led a grassroots donation drive. Everyone contributed, even a few cents, and a monument was erected next to the dam. On it were carved the names of everyone who had contributed to the project. At the very top were the names of my parents. On the night before we left the village, Ian and I took a walk by the dam. As we stood by the dam, the night breeze gently ruffled my hair. The moonlight reflected off the calm waters below, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. Ian reached out and held my hand. "Your parents would be proud," he said softly. I nodded, looking at the monument. They didn't die in vain. The village that once held so much pain for me had become a place of healing, of purpose. I had walked through betrayal, humiliation, and despair. But I had never given up. I had rebuilt my life from the ashes, not by clinging to the past, but by building something that mattered. And I had found love, not the kind born from obsession or pity, but from understanding, respect, and standing side by side through it all. As dawn broke, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and gold, Ian and I looked out toward the horizon. A new day was beginning, not just for us, but for everyone who had once been trapped by the floods of fate. This time, we were the ones holding the dam, and nothing was going to break us again.